Live, I'm Chip. Jeff is not here tonight. Jeff is actually on a secret mission, a secret top secret mission, and he'll be joining us back here tomorrow. Today we're going to get into some fun, interesting stuff. What's more fun than the SEC regulations? And then what if Pancake Swap or the like or Curve or one of those came to the XRPL? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Chip here. What's going on? How is everybody feeling tonight? Happy Tuesday night. Tuesday night it is. Yeah. How is everyone feeling tonight? Drop where you're from in the chat. We always like to know where you guys are from. And I'll throw them on there periodically. But where are you from? City, country. We have people from all over the world, every single continent, every nook and cranny of the entire globe. And who knows, maybe somebody's up on the space station watching right now. Doubtful, but you can always wonder, and you can always dream, because that's where we're headed someday, the moonshot. And I just wanted to kind of get down to some interesting news again. Now, the SEC, if you saw the thumbnail, I really believe that the SEC's kind of gone off the rails. And let me explain. They have absolutely, just when you think they're predictable and just like you think that what the next step is going to be, oh, they should probably do this, or maybe they'll take this step. They go and do something really insanely crazy, which we'll get into in a little bit. And then I want to talk about an interesting proposal that was put forward about bringing a decentralized exchange, like something like not necessarily a decentralized exchange, but bringing something like Curve or Pancake Swap, Uniswap, but bringing that to the XRPL. Now, that's a really cool thing, because I would rather do some work over there, because if you get into any of these other coins, you probably realize real fast that you're going to be spending a lot of time and money and fees, right? Especially with when you're dealing with gas fees and the Ethereum whole network there. So we have some people in from Ghana tonight, in Bali. So what I'm saying, all over the world here. In Ottawa, Canada, we love our Canadian friends. I grew up right across the border there. So guys, keep that coming in here. And let's jump into this first story. I think it's interesting. Let's see what you guys think on this one here. So this is a really interesting, let me throw it up on the screen there. So let me do that right now. Let's see, there we go, right there. So XRP lawsuit ramifications. Is the SEC hurting the same community it vows to protect? Well, yeah, this is a really good article, really nice post by Shabe Pandey. And this is over on AMB Crypto. And it goes on to say that the SEC decision to file a lawsuit against Ripple Labs had a big impact. The unprecedented move can have far-reaching impact on the cryptocurrency market. Now, whether or not XRP is a security or not's been a long debated topic, but this has become the prime focus of the lawsuit, and the verdict of the case will also question if the Howey test is even relevant in this day and age. And one of the things that I think is key here is the fact that he really understands the idea here that it does have far-reaching. This is, if everyone thinks this is Ripple against the SEC, SEC against Ripple, no. When he says long, far-reaching impact on the cryptocurrency market, he totally nails that. And then he talks about Hester Pierce, who's the SEC commissioner, and the fact that she previously criticized the Howey test used by the Supreme Court to determine whether an asset is a security. Well, yeah, it actually did do that in 1930 something, right? It was way back in the day when they actually went ahead and came up with this. As far as the Supreme Court is concerned, it's not like it happened yesterday. And somebody likened it one time, if you gave your great granddad, if you went back in time and handed them an iPhone or a mobile phone and said, here, go ahead and call somebody, they'd be like, what are you talking about? They wouldn't exactly know what that is. And by the same reverse, would anybody really know what technology is going forward, right? So something from an orange grove, which is Howey in the Hills, was actually named. It's right to the west of Orlando, not too far from where I am, up a couple miles. And Howey in the Hills was named after Howey, who owned this orange grove. And by the way, he had passed away obviously the company went on, but he had passed away prior to that. And I always thought it was some sort of a shakedown because he was a big time politician. kind of ruffled people's feathers the wrong way. Let's just say he was kind of swimming like a trout swimming upstream. And I kind of feel like maybe they kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say had it out for him, but everything seems to be political these days. And certainly that's probably no different. Then he goes on to say what remains certain is an urgent need for crystal clear regulations. This was yet again highlighted by Stuart Alderati, and that is Ripple's general counsel. And according to Alderati, the environment of regulatory uncertainty in the U.S. is a major cause for concern. And he said the SEC continues to regulate the space through enforcement rather than adopting laws or rules or regulations. This is stuff that Jeff and I talk about all the time, but it needs to be said because this has become his whole, remember what he's raising right here. He says, is the SEC hurting the community it vows to protect, right? So we've had some incongruencies here with what's the SEC's mission and what are they spending their time doing. He went on to say that America's regulation by enforcement strategy is already driving innovators away to countries like Japan, Singapore, UK, Switzerland. And we all know that Jeremy Allaire from Circle left. And, you know, the other night we had on Charlie Silvers, and even though he's based in San Diego, they also set up offshore. Why? Because they don't have regulatory clarity. They want to do everything right. They want to participate. And that project was permission.io, and the token is ASK or ask, as an ask permission, where you go ahead and you license your data. You are in control of your data, and because you're in control of your data, you get compensated with ask, which is ASK. You can look up that video. We did it on 2 days ago. The U.S. is creating uncertainty that hurts the markets and consumers while hampering the drive for innovative new approaches to cross-border payments, financial inclusion, and more. And that's really when we look at projects. Yeah, there's the meme coins. Yeah, there's Akita and there's Keisha and there's all these. I mean, every dog is going to have its day with this coin. But when we start talking about projects that are solving real problems, a project that is actually solving, you know, being able to move cross-border full remittance payments, other projects that are solving issues with on blockchain, interoperability of blockchain. And then we've got our meme coins, which there's no research done. You jump in, you make a little bit of money, and then you jump off. That's kind of how that works. And Garlinghouse from Ripple CEOs has been voicing his unease as well with the lack of regulatory clarity. And you guys got to remember that, you know, the funny part of this whole thing was, out of all the companies out there, there was one company who was informing the SEC all along what they were doing. That company was Ripple, nonstop, telling them exactly what they wanted to do. Here, we're doing this. Hey, we're going to go invest in MoneyGram. Hey, we're going to go over here and do this. And they're like, yeah, okay. And every time they were going to go do something, they informed the SEC. Now, the FTSC, they got fined back in 2015. They knew, I think they get audited pretty much every year, and they know where the line is, right? So there's a little bit of guidance over there, and they called it a cryptocurrency. And here they go on, he goes on to say, we need to either reach a clear settlement that provides the clarity and uncertainty, or we need to let the judge make that decision. And that's kind of where we are in this movie, right? We've got the movie where it started, good guy, bad guy, pick sides, good guy attacks bad guy comes back, bad guy tries to slap good guy. But you see what Ripple's happening all the time. I love the case because I want them to have their day in court. This is the only way. It's the only way really something's going to happen. And per the official insights provided by Ripple, data indicated in Q1 2021 was a quarter of XRP accumulation. Well, that's interesting. The number of whale wallets, defined as wallets with balances of at least 10 million XRP. By the way, there was a new one discovered today. We'll get into that. At least 10 million XRP increased from 308 in Q4 to 319. Not a big number, but given the fact that there's a lawsuit, given the fact that everybody got a little nervous and started selling, what they're talking about here was at the time for accumulation, and we saw the price go up as well. The number of wallets holding between 1 million and 10 million increased from 1125 all the way up to 1196, which had a little bit bigger of a jump, which is pretty interesting within itself. Let me go to the chat here. Oh, look at this. Hey, what's going on here? It looks like somebody stumbled in here. Who could that be? Oh, it looks like it might have been. Am I freezing up? Oh, great. Yeah, I think I've got some kind of a controller problem here with my computer. So every time I share the screen, something weird happens. Want to go on to this other story here. basically this is kind of breaking today. The Securities and Exchange Commission released a warning statement, because that's kind of what they do. They release warning statements, right? This is what they're up to these days. Let me see if I can share this hopefully without freezing, but we'll see. See what happens here. And I'm probably going to freeze. So I probably shouldn't share the screen because it goes into something with this software that always freezes up even though I'm using yet another video camera. But the SEC today released a warning statement to Bitcoin investors claiming, be careful of extreme speculation. You got to be careful of the volatility, potential crypto regulations, potentially maybe hinted in there, maybe a new SEC division created. And they went ahead and they released this big statement, which I wish I could put it up there, but just can't. Hester Pierce, she put out a tweet today, and it goes something like this. We've talked a lot over the last 3 years. I hope under Chair Gensler we'll finally get comfortable with American investors having access to crypto-based security products. Now here's an IM statement with Bitcoin exposure. So yeah, they've talked a lot over the last 3 years, and really talk is cheap, as they say, and all talk and no action. So it's not really the SEC's fault. They don't really have the guidance, but going after somebody without clear guidance is another thing within itself. And they put out this public statement, and it's real boring. It's like written by attorneys, as almost all their stuff is, but it sounds like this: staff settlement on funds registered in the Investment Company Act, investing in the Bitcoin futures market. Somebody grab me a pillow, because that is boring as all heck. And this came out today. It said the Division of Investment Management, known as IM, staff, they strongly encourage any investor interested in investing in a mutual fund with exposure to Bitcoin futures market. As discussed below, they go on to kind of like talk about it in this whole, in this release, to carefully consider the risk disclosure of the fund, the investor's own risk tolerance, and the possibility, as with all investing, of investor loss. Well, that's one of the reasons they call it investing, right? Are they putting out stuff in the stock market, right? There's a lot of volatility in the stock market. But if you notice this, they're singling out Bitcoin specifically again. And it's almost like there's a concerted effort around the world for everybody to start beating up on Bitcoin, right? You have everyone from, Madame Lagarde over there in charge of the European Central Bank. You've got you've got in the U.S., you've got everyone in the Biden administration up in arms. Janet Yellen talking all about how volatile Bitcoin is and miss it. But meanwhile, it's outperformed the S&P 500 the last 11 years. It's outperformed mostly the NASDAQ. But we're not going to get into facts and figures when we're talking about government officials, right? It's just like shoot from the hip, talk about how volatile it is. And it is volatile, right? We saw it go up to 20,000. We saw it shoot right back down, right? It went down to 3,000. Everyone's like, I don't know. A lot of people ran. But a lot of people said, I smell something good here. If it hit 20, what are the chances that it could go to 30 or 40? Now, at the time when it was 3,000, let's be honest. Did we all think it was going to touch 20,000 anytime soon? Yeah, I don't know. Probably not. But when it hit 25, then 35, then 45, and along the way, we saw a lot of companies. We talked about a company in Argentina last night that just got in. They want to put some of their balance sheet in. So we're starting to see Bitcoin become a safe haven for corporations that want to dedicate at least 1% of their balance sheet, which is, how much risk is there? Potentially a lot of risk. When you're dealing with 1% and you're going to put it into an investment, some of that could be lost or all of it could be lost. Would it crush the company? I don't know. Probably not. Now, when you get into something like Michael Saylor, where he's putting a lot of money into it, that's probably a different scenario altogether. But the risk tolerance is phenomenal, right? You got to have, if you're going to dip that toe in the water, if it's 1%, yeah, fair enough. But when you start getting in and you're up to $3-4 billion, and we start seeing Bitcoin go up to $64 and all the way down to 47, that's pretty volatile. But one of the things we know is it usually pops right back up. And they go on. It's a very droning sort of a letter where they go on in this SEC letter. Back in 2018, the investment management staff issued a letter on engaging on fund innovation and cryptocurrency related holdings and blah, blah, blah. In that letter, the IM staff identified 5 substantive areas of questions implicated by funds registered under the Investment Company Act of 1940. because everyone knows people were thinking about cryptocurrencies in 1940, right? It's like, what are we thinking about? How about some digital money? What's digital? Well, you know, a computer. Well, we don't have computers. You know, they had these giant rooms filled with these punch cards. That was pretty much all they had, right? But and it's even funny in here where they're talking about the Investment Company Act of 1940, potentially investing in digital assets, including cryptocurrencies or crypto-related investments. So I find that somewhat, let's say, humorous, but it's a little bit daunting, the fact that they're coming out and they're warning people. Oh my gosh, you'd be very careful about being Bitcoin because no one knows about risk tolerance, right? We need the government to talk to us, to be our nannies, to protect over us and watch over us, right? Because we're not smart enough. We couldn't possibly know what to do with our money. Heck, I mean, you know, if we didn't know any better, we'd probably just bet it all, you know, on slots, right? Just go. I mean, what do they think we are? They think we're morons. I mean, I don't get it. IM staff issued the crypto letter shortly after Bitcoin futures began trading in December of 2017, and blah blah blah. The IM staff understands that some mutual funds are investing or seeking to invest in Bitcoin futures, and that these funds can do consistent. The whole letter just kind of goes around and around talking about, be careful of your risk analysis with these funds if they have ties to this, and analyze the liquidity and the depth. And for example, the number of participants in these Bitcoin future markets, consider whether it's appropriately supporting mutual fund investment, analyze mutual funds' ability to liquidate Bitcoin future positions, monitor fund valuations as part of compliance. And the whole thing just goes on and on. It's a lot of that kind of stuff where they just drone on, blah, 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 blah. And again, so I don't really know what the meaning of this letter is and what they're trying to achieve, because quite honestly, when you look at what they're trying to achieve here, it's like, what are they doing? So are you protecting us? You watching over us? Are you telling us something's coming on the horizon? Everyone's going to lose their money? Because that seems to be a pervasive sort of statement by centralized sort of organizations, right? Centralized bankers, they love to kind of like watch everything and see what's going on. It's centralized. And this whole decentralized innovation has everybody kind of ticked off. They're a little bit worried. There's no doubt about it. They seem to be very worried about it. Very worried indeed. So I wanted to see, let's go into the chat here. Yeah, so Omega 6 Project says, based off blockchain backers analysis, we may be heading towards the end, but the XRP SEC lawsuit looks like it's just getting started, and we're on the cusp of missing the run unless Coinbase relists. No, you know, that's a really good observation. And, you know, it's really hard to say. I believe the $2 is probably going to be incoming sooner rather than later, but I think if the more investors realize that XRP is a decentralized asset, and yeah, what's the worst that can happen? There can be a fine against the SEC. I think the bigger question is the ramifications of this particular lawsuit will be far-reaching. It's just like the writer said in that previous article we were looking at. It affects the entire industry. Now, where is it going to affect it? In the UK? No, they're gonna carry on because they already have clarification. What about Singapore? No. Japan? Not even. So Australia, you know, all over Asia. I mean, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even doubt if India gets regulation before us, because remember, 1 week they're banning crypto, the next week they're back on again, then they're banning it. And it's kind of the same kind of press we see out of China. China is absolutely stripping everybody. Nobody will be able to mine Bitcoin. And next week it's like, well, maybe some people, I don't know, a couple people might be able to mine. And the next week, absolutely not. We're cutting everybody off. There's no more power for Bitcoiners. And then it's like the same thing over and over again, right? And then we have, this came out from the ftso.eu, and this is what I wanted to sort of explore a little bit. This is talks about a big difference in this tweet between the XRP Ledger decentralized exchange. It's still using in the order book, and it's not as super interesting as something called AMM, and we'll get into what AMM means, as discussed months ago. And this was between David Schwartz and HMX. I don't know really. That's what the HMX is, the not to be confused with DMX. God rest his soul. And then we have this. It'd be interesting having an AMM on XRPL. So kind of look at it like this: is that if we had an automated market maker just imagine something the likes of, let's say, Uniswap or something like Curve, PancakeSwap. You have Uniswap, but instead of focusing on the ecosystem of Ethereum, what about the XRPL? So that's a super interesting idea. It seems like we have something called Ethereum, smart contracts ruled the land, and then what happened after that? Well, soon after that, we got something called, or at least on the horizon, something called Flare. And Flare, super promising, but again, smart contracts. And one of the things it's eliminating, and well, it's sort of looking at those differently, but it's going to eliminate the whole fee structure that we're dealing with right now on the Ethereum. So what happens if we bring the same sort of the idea of bringing a Uniswap to the XRPL? And so somebody put together is a brief proposal. This is HMX, put together a brief level proposal for implementing this automated market maker, specifically constant function market makers, which are known as CFMMs, directly on the XRPL. And so it puts a bunch of ideas for it. The main benefit of the proposal, the creation of a decentralized autonomous swap pool, and the functionality would turn in significantly reduce the barrier of entry, and this would allow anybody to participate in the global liquidity pool, similar to how Uniswap is operating on Ethereum. Obviously, sans the on-chain fee, which is what we're dealing with. And some of those fees, I don't know if you look on crypto Twitter, are just ginormous. They're insanely big. And he goes on to say that I believe having this function native to the XRPL would contribute towards the vision of XRP recently laid out by David Schwartz. And it says his personal vision for XRP since 2013 or so was this idea of a deep, open public pool of liquidity that anyone, anywhere could contribute to, draw off a global market for assets as someone happens to have exactly where someone else needed to be. And that was a statement by David Schwartz. And it's like, imagine this deep liquidity pool, and you can kind of be anyone, anything, completely open. Right now it doesn't exactly exist in that, but the actual implementation would require adding some transaction types to the protocol, and basically all those details. It's a task that remains to be done, right? So they go on to some other stuff. What's a constant function market maker? It's basically academic. There's a lot of academic stuff here, but it's a class of AMMs where the reserves of the asset pool can only change in a way that satisfies a certain mathematical relationship. So they put this big formula up here talking about what that might look like. And they go on to equations and everything else. But I love the idea of this because, number one, they talk about democratizing and bootstrapping liquidity. So we've seen that bootstrapping liquidity through order book-based exchanges is challenging, especially on something that's decentralized, right? You need that liquidity because, we had Charlie Silver on the other day, and one of the things that he talked about was, as you accumulate ASK, which is the name of the token, you needed to accumulate 25,000 before you could actually make a withdrawal. Question came up in the chat, well, why would you do that? Well, he had a great answer for that as a liquidity, right? You run into a problem with liquidity if all of a sudden, with the market makers and market takers, you have everybody doing a sell-off, and if you don't have the liquidity, you're going to run into problems. So the closer people get to that, you can certainly do more planning and moving stuff around. And I thought he illustrated that pretty well. And running a bot to send orders to decentralized order books on the XRPL, it requires a certain level of technical expertise. So representing a significant barrier of entry, it prevents most XRP holders like us, or now, when you start getting into this deep stuff, it's not really for the most of us. I know there's a lot of smart people out there, in the OTC family, lots of devs, but for most people that hold XRP, it's just going to be just way up over their head. So even if you did have that tech expertise, it's going to be a certain level of risk, and then the trading strategy and the bot would actually be doing the executing, and the risk would also be a function of the amount of assets that you could afford to bring to the order book. So that's what we're talking about, the liquidity pool. Number two, what it would do is it would reduce transaction volume and faster exchange. So it's a known fact that the XRPL is flooded by offer create and offer cancel transactions. We knew this to be one of the foreseen use cases, but it doesn't seem efficient, right? For For given a closed ledger, typically just a handful of payments and transactions included. Majority of the transactions, all you're doing is manipulating the decentralized order book one way or the other, and with the occasional actual trade thrown in. So the CFMMs, they sidestep the what's like a synthetic order book creation. The trades execute instantly and liquidity can be added or removed instantly. Then you've got your path independence, with the price of an asset on the order book depends on many factors such as depth, liquidity, and trading history. But most of all, depends on the responses of the participants. So I think like a proposal like this that would bring a certain level of ease and use to have more people participate, because if you're buying other tokens, you're buying it on Uniswap, you know you're getting hammered with fees, right? And you know that if they can solve the whole idea of the liquidity pool over on the XRPL, man, it would be just an amazing sort of a feed, if you will. So I just wanted to, I thought that was pretty interesting. I know it was real technical, but I thought it was, who's talking about Carlos here? Carlos, let's go into the chat, see if we can pull anything out of here. By the way, thank you for that, Connie. Please hit the like, the subscribe button. And anytime Jeff and I go live, you guys will be notified. Also, we have another channel down there in the description. If you haven't subscribed, they're short little bits. Put out an 8-minute video today. I think Jeff had a 12-minute video. They're like short little snippets of us. You know, Jeff he'll do usually the afternoon one. I usually do the morning one. Won't have one out tomorrow. Busy day today, so won't get one tomorrow. I don't think Jeff will either. But most of the time, you guys can catch short little videos. Thank you for that, Connie. I really appreciate that. So they're talking about some kind of staking over here, which is always good to see. I like to see what everybody's into over here. And I wanted to get into this next story here. This one here had to do with the XRP Ledger Foundation. And this is the XRP Ledger Foundation happy to announce that they published a unique node list known as the UNL for the XRPL at vl.xrplf.org. Did you guys get that? You know, vl.xrplf.org? Sure. So there's some key differences between their unique node list and other widely unique node lists. They've added 2 long-standing members of the ecosystem, and that would be GateHub and Coil Labs. You know, Coil Labs, obviously a funded Ripple partner, a dev shop that's building some cool stuff right now, and it'll be interesting to see some of the stuff that they roll out as well. And they removed one validator per the public announcement. May. They're not running a validator from effect from 24th of May. And they just kind of talk a little bit about that. So with the modifications here, they have a total of 39 validators in their UNL, and they're continuing to expand the list to include more validators. And then going forward, they hope that the ecosystem uses their UNL alongside other providers. They're going to publish a list of guidelines for inclusion in their UNL. And near future is the domain being set in the manifest, a TOML file that has clear information about the operator. So I thought that was another interesting story out there. And, you know, our pal over at Bank XRP put something out today that really kind of gave me a little bit of pause. You know, he put out this tweet. I'd seen this news early in the day, but I didn't sort of connect the dots. And I kind of wanted to, you know, give the credit to him because he or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, but credit to Bank XRP, because Google Pay today, one had enlisted Western Union and Wise for remittances. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So we have Western Union, and we know all about Western Union, right? It was competitor, big. It still owns the space in money transmission. It's a lot bigger than MoneyGram. They've expressed interest in the in XRPL, right? Using XRP for doing remittance. And so Google Pay users in the US can now send money to India, Singapore, because of these integrations with the Western Union and Wise. And as you know, this is like huge business. There's people around the world, there's $700 billion sending it to family, friends, everybody in their home country. And, you know, Google Pay obviously wants to sort of like offer this service. So Americans can now use this Google Pay. And if they want to send money, they just basically go on the phone, they tap pay, they select either whatever provider, either Western Union or Wise, before following a couple of steps. And then Western Union's offering unlimited free transfers until the 16th of June, where then they will raise the fees on you and they'll slam you. I don't know if they'll do that, but so it's like you can be sending all kinds of money back and forth, you know, to the 16th of June. And then Wise is going to make the first transfer free for new customers on transfers, but it has to be a minimum of at least $500. And the service begins with India and Singapore. By the end of the year, Google Pay will be able to send money to people in more than 200 countries. Now, something that Bank XRP had put out a while ago, I actually forgot about this, but he had sort of wondered if Wise was a Ripple partner. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, is Wise, and he says, I hope I'm right, but is Wise a Ripple partner? Now, that might make a lot of sense, right? Because you got to look at, obviously, we know how Western Union doesn't have the full remittance, but they certainly have the network. And are they doing, do they have full liquidity there? Probably not, but it doesn't matter. They have enough to, if it lags in the background, you can send the money, which seems pretty quick, but the actual money doesn't arrive at the location till a little bit later. It still takes time. It's not instant. But wondering with Wise, and this is what Bank XRP is sort of pondering, are they a Ripple partner? And he says, I hope I'm right. We shall find out to see if maybe that comes to be true. So let's think about that. And we'll wonder if that's something that could potentially be come true, right? And I don't know. I kind of thought about that. I get the Western Union thing, but using Wise and having the ability to choose between that, is Google testing both of these services? In other words, do they want two services? Are they really beta testing these to find out which ones actually have less friction, which ones work better? Because you don't usually have a provider that goes to the same place. Usually you want to make sure, you want to find out which one is going to be the better solution. You want to find out, is it going to be Western Union in this corner? What about, could it potentially be over in this corner? Well, it could possibly be Wise. And what if, just what if Wise is a Ripple partner? So I thought that was some pretty cool, incredible speculation by Bank. And then there was this amazing tweet by XRP, Deutschland, no predictions. And you've probably seen this out there. To all who are still using CoinMarketCap, I highly recommend you take it Livecoin Watch. So Livecoin Watch, check this out. Easy to use, right? Really well done. It's Coil enabled. So if you have a Coil account, and I recommend everybody to get one, they're $5. You go to coil.com, you basically sign up for it, and for $5 a month, every time you go to websites that are enabled, like Condé Nast, there's a whole bunch of websites that have paywalls that work with Coil. And there's more and more all the time. And I think Coil, obviously, Stefan Thomas, who was the former chief tech officer over at Ripple, founded the company. And I like the fact that it's getting more adoption. Now, if you have a Coil account right now and you are watching me live, you are streaming micropayments of XRP in real time, little tiny micropayments. How do Jeff and I know this? Because every night when the show wraps tomorrow, we'll get an email saying you received this amount of XRP. Why? Because the more people that have XRP, have Coil accounts, it's $5 a month, man. It's not that big. It's not that hard. So you watch the show often, you pay $5 a month. You can go to the Coil blogs, a lot of cool stuff, places that you can go. And if you go to Coil, you will notice there's all kinds of things you can go to. That Audio Tarky is another one that actually pays out better to creators than any of the streaming services out there. So that's something good too. And you can listen to music. It's a really cool service. So if you get that and you're watching on a browser and you got that plug-in, you're streaming those micropayments, that's really cool. So this actually runs on Coil. So if you got a Coil, that's one way that they're able to stream payments to this site. And also, it's got a very fast support, and they're taking a look at the XRP market cap issue. So one of the things we talked about a little bit last night, at least I talked about it. CoinMarketCap, really one of the first big ones to kind of come out. I'm not that comfortable with it. Binance assumed it, bought it. I just don't trust the numbers. I don't think they're that solid. Just when you look at some of the Coin Paprika, or you look at some of the other ones out there, I just don't necessarily think it's one of the top dogs. I think it's okay. It's just not for my liking. It's not what I like. And I personally like to use CoinGecko. But anyway, this is pretty cool. I probably want to put this up here, but you know what'll happen, guys. I mean, you know what'll happen. So let me see if I can throw this up here, because I just want to show it to you. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get in here. I don't know if well, it's funny. I think I Here it is. Here it is. Let's look at this. I got to open this up because it's actually buried in a tweet. It's buried in another tweet inside of a tweet. So yeah, Livecoin Watch. I like this. We're going to have to keep it. It's livecoinwatch.com. Pretty simple. But again, the fact that they include the Coil accounts, I love it, right? So I can go there, stream micropayments. It's a way sort of to support them. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see, guys. Let's see what happens here. And it looks like I'm freezing. Look at me. I am freezing. And there it is right there. And there's what it looks like, livecoinwatch.com. And I'm going to have to stop this right away, see if I can sort of come back here. Let's see if it catches up here. But anyway, it's a good site, livecoinwatch.com. Check it out, and maybe I'll come back. Let's see. Am I? Oh, no. There we go. Okay, what else do we have here? So there's a couple other things that I wanted to hit real quick, and look at me moving in slow motion. The software is very strange. It's the only one. I'm on calls all day on this computer, and no issues. But here, yeah, plenty of issues. So let's take a look at this here. So there's a new whale been discovered. This one here, obviously private. Nobody knows what it is, but it has 60 million XRP. I'm sorry, no, that's $60 million in USD, the equivalent, and it has 42 million XRP. A pretty sizable wallet. If that's a new one that's been discovered, that might be a new one added since the one we just talked about. So that might be another one that has more than 10 million. And then I wanted to get into this a little bit. This was attorney James K. Filan. He put this out. This is an updated list of the upcoming events in the case of the SEC. And we have, let me put this up on my big screen over here. So May 13th, we've got the opposition brief to the SEC motion to strike Ripple's lack of due process and fair notice defense. On the 14th, we're going to have the SEC opposition brief to Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson's motion to dismiss. Then also on the 14th, we have Ripple Labs' response to the SEC motion to compel turnover of documents. 17th, we have Deaton's reply to SEC's opposition of intervention and Ripple Labs' position on intervention. Also, the SEC's response to Ripple's position on intervention is due. And if you guys have seen, if you guys followed John Deaton out there, he showed a picture of his desk with just like mounds of papers and stuff on the floor, and it was just like stuff everywhere because he's been preparing feverishly for this May 17th deadline. And then on May 21st, 2 p.m., there's going to be a telephonic conference to discuss the motion to compel turnover of documents. On the 27th, there's going to be the SEC's reply to Ripple's opposition brief. And then on June 4th, we have Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson's reply to the SEC opposition brief to their motion to dismiss. And we're waiting for a decision on the SEC for the use of the motion of understanding, the MOUs. So that's kind of what's coming up. So it's going to be an action-packed rest of the month anyway. It'll be interesting to see, and we'll keep you informed as we move on with as we do with everything. Let's see here. Just lost my screen. And let me get this back over here. Okay, so what's going on over in the chat? Anything exciting happening in the chat? Thank you. Yes, no, news. Chip, get a coat for heaven's sake. A coat? All right, what's up, Chip? BC's in the house. There's something right there. Nexo.io. Is that the same Nexo.io I'm thinking about? Let me look at this really quick. Let me see. All right, so Ani said she's heard about that. It's taking forever to process. Yeah, that's the same Nexo I know. I don't give too much advice, but if I could give you some advice, stay away from Nexo. That's just my personal advice, my personal opinion. I've seen too many people get liquidated. I've seen. Let's just say I know a lot of stuff the action they've taken on people, stuff they've done. I'm not trying to defame or anything, but it's my own personal stance here that I've seen enough bad stuff come out of that I really, if I had to recommend them, I wouldn't. If I had to recommend something along that I would really believe in, that would be Celsius.network. Why? Because I knew who the founder is. The founder's not hiding. The founder's not in some, shells of companies that are hidden among other shells of companies, which have very interesting laws based on the countries that they're circulated in. And if I had to tell you, I know who Alex Mashinsky is. I know his track record. I know this is his sixth startup. I know he's a multi-millionaire, probably billionaire, and he, is invested in technology. And he's the so-called father of voice over IP, which is what we use on our mobile phones every single day. That's who I would bet on. If I was betting on someone, I would bet on that. I'd be very careful about Nexo.io. I'm just saying, that's just my personal opinion. You guys can ask questions about that. And we had to take some videos down that we talked about them. There's a couple videos that are probably up on our channel. You guys can go look at. We've had some guests on, and some nefarious bad stuff happened. And when you don't give people, when you liquidate people and you don't give them, you say that your network went down, and you liquidated people to the millions of dollars because they couldn't top up their accounts. Not a good look. And when you threaten them with legal action, that's not a good look either. And when you came after people, that's not a good look. There were no good looks there, but kind of got sidestepped. I did see that, and I don't really voice the opinion all that much, but I'm going to voice it right there. Then I wish I could show you this because it's an awesome one, and I would just freeze up. But anyway, it's a tweet by Mark Phillips. He put this out, Mark_Phillips. He said, and I like this because he showed a picture of his sock drawer, really colorful, cool, interesting socks, so kind of like rolled up, if you will, if you can imagine that. And his sock drawer, he takes a nice picture of it, snap of it. He says, to hodl crypto, treat it like a pair of socks, stored away. Forget about it until you need it. Seriously. Do you ever think about what's in your sock drawer? No. I mean, you probably have all kinds. I have all kinds. I found something the other day, and I'm like, wow, I must have put this there 3 years ago. So I really connected with this tweet because he's making a good point. It's like, do you think about stuff in your sock drawer? No. When I need a pair of socks, I grab one out of there, and sometimes they're paired together, and sometimes they're all just loose. And oh, there's that one I bought for the Christmas party 5 years ago. And oh, what's this? I've been looking for this for a couple of years. And he says, are you ever tempted to sell some of those socks? No, never. I love this thought from Mark. It's just really well thought out. I thought that was really fun, really cool. And it's typical Mark Phillips. He puts out some really good stuff. And we've had Mark on here before. We got to get him on here again because I really enjoy him being on here as well. There's also something else that came out today too, which is if you guys remember Michelle O'Connor, she used to be over there with Uphold, and she went to TaxBit and they announced today that they are now the milestone partner of where? The IRS. So the IRS selected TaxBit as a software provider to provide data analysis and tax calculation support for taxpayers. So when you're dealing with, this is one of the things that comes up. If you're moving stuff, you're buying stuff, you're doing this, TaxBit, the way I understand it, is you can basically go in there and assess all of, connect your different exchanges, and it does all the calculations for you because it'll drive you mental if you just buy it and hold it forever. But if you buy something, you move that to something else, you move that over there, you send that there, it's just going to become a nightmare. So this is really great. So they were selected. Nice shout out to Michelle O'Connor. I thought that was pretty cool. And one last thing tonight, as I just wanted to talk about here is, and again, this is something I probably have to show. And yeah, I'll probably freeze up a little bit. Let's try it anyway. What the heck? I'll freeze up for a little bit, but this is fun. And here we go. Let's see if we can do it here. Let's do it. All right, let's make that bigger. Let's actually make that full screen. So I basically said hodling pays off. Finally, some profit after months of investing in XRP. Finally able to buy my first cappuccino. That's not my meme, but I did retweet it. And, the first time I saw it, it was actually sent to me by my BTC Maxi buddy. He sends this over to me, and I'm like, yeah, we have a sense of humor, bud. We laugh about stuff. We joke about it. We're happy to laugh about stuff. And he sent that over, so I thought that was good because the first thing you fixate your eyes on is that Lambo. You're like, oh, check that out. Is that a Ferrari? I don't know. Not that big into cars. I'm more into musical instruments, and I'm more into, places to live. And my number one thing to do is travel. Just meeting new and cool people. And so that's where I'll get to travel your countries at some point, knock on your door. You'd be like, you're eating a sandwich, and all of a sudden you're like, who is it? I'll be like, it's Chip. And you're like, what? And I show up there with the family, and we camp out for a while, and you show me all the sights of the city, and you'd be like, stuff like that. Not that it would happen, but I imagine we would have these moon parties all over the globe, We might have one in Australia. We have somewhere over there like in Singapore, Japan, you know, probably a couple different places in Europe. Obviously, you know, the UK would be, you know, tops there, Netherlands, and, you know, who knows, Spain, just a couple different parties. We can go hang out, you know, enjoy each other's company, and, you know, kind of meet up. It's always been kind of cool to wonder, hey, wouldn't it be cool to actually meet people in person? Would it be kind of cool to sort of like get that, what's the saying, the live stream, like the damn live stream. Yeah, like it, man. Yeah, come on. Can you like it for a second? Why not? Just like it. So anyway, if it's your first time here, you guys know what I'm going to say, right? Like, subscribe, click that notification bell, because, you know, Dave is right over here, or Dawes, I should say. Who is this, Dawes? Yeah, Dawes G, dog, really. Okay, so Dawes said exactly right. We've got to be able to enjoy it, like it. And anyway, that's it. Jeff will be back tomorrow, and I'm already running out of steam here. Jeff will be back tomorrow. On Thursday, we'll have Representative Warren Davidson. We'll be talking about the Token Taxonomy Act and getting into some other stuff. That's my take. That's On the Chain Live. I am Chip. Jeff will be back tomorrow, and we'll see you on the next one. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC?
Apparently I'm frozen.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.